Hey y'all, it's Bailey with Reclaim Grays. I'm so happy you clicked on this video. I have had a crazy busy week, so I'm feeling very blessed. I was able to get 3 projects completed for y'all. Y'all let me know which one is your favorite. We're still going for more of the winter vibes, but more neutral. Y'all let me know what y'all think about these projects, and we're going to get started right now. I hope everyone is doing well today. Our first project is this thrifted wooden frame. Picked up from Salvation Army for like $1.99. We're going to get this back taken out by just taking a straight edge and prying those staples up, and then our back piece will pop right out. We're going to set that to the side. We're not going to be reusing the glass, just that backer piece. I did decide to go ahead and remove these staples because I'll be attaching some new inserts later down the road. Now, since we have everything taken apart, we're going to give this frame a good clean just using some Windex and a shop rag. You always need to clean your projects. Plus, this one has been kicking around my workshop for a little while, so it was a bit dusty. Now, I have cut apart a gift bag from Walmart. Here it is. It's a gorgeous winter scene with some bucks in a little snowy forest, and we're going to attach this to the backer board. I'm just going to lay the backer board on top of our gift bag and use a pin to trace around it, and then we will cut out our rectangle. We're going to be using glue stick to glue this down. I need to get a more permanent glue stick, but this purple school glue has worked very well for me. You just want to make sure you put quite a bit of glue on your project. Don't be stingy with the glue. Apply it liberally and make sure you're pressing down very firmly. I started at the top with just a nice starter strip so I knew my placement was straight, and then I'm just going to work my way down until we have this gift bag attached. I did break out my brayer just to make sure everything is making great contact with our backer board. Next, I flipped it over and just using a sharp X-Acto knife trimmed those excess edges off. And then I think this is turning out beautiful. As you can see on the bottom, I did want to make sure it would fit my frame well. And I'm about to show you right there at the bottom, you can see that crease from the back, and we need to disguise that. So I'm going to use some Fusion Mineral Paint. This is just a white Victorian lace, I believe is the name. And as you can see, I am at the bottom of my container, so it's pretty thick, kind of dried up paint. I mixed it with some salt wash. I want a very, very thick mixture here that we are going to palette onto our gorgeous artwork to make it look like some fluffy snow that the deer are laying in. I'm just using a Dollar Tree tool here, patting that paint mixture onto the bottom of our project, right under our little deer and our little deer's feet. This was a very simple project. I forgot to hit the record button as I was sprinkling some glitter into this wet paint, but I did sprinkle just a little bit of glitter on it, and look at that snow. I stuck this back into the frame, added a hanger, and this project is done. You cannot get any simpler than this. I would price this at $19.95. Y'all let me know what you think about this project. Our next project is going to be a music paper wreath. This has been highly requested DIY that I am glad to bring y'all finally. So I have some music paper. This just came out of a thrift store music book, and I'm going to grab quite a few pages here and I'm going to cut them in half. It does not have to be perfect. You can fold your pages over to get that crease mark if you would like, but just remember, perfection is not the goal here. Just get a rough cut of half music paper, quite a bit of them cut out. I'm going to be using a foam wreath from the Dollar Tree. Once we get our paper added, this is going to be the perfect size for the frame I plan on putting it in. So here I have just a stick that I'm going to fold my paper around and kind of scrunch it as I'm folding it around and kind of get that point on the end. This is where we're going to be adding our hot glue, quite a bit of hot glue, and then we're going to work on inserting these into our foam wreath on the outer layer. Now, as you are working on this outer layer, that stick is going to help you puncture the foam wreath, and really that hot glue really grabs onto the foam, but you do kind of need to hold it for a few seconds to let that glue dry. So as you can see, just add in more hot glue, and I will insert our second piece right next to our first piece. Give it a few seconds and kind of hold it as you're pulling that stick out. And once you get going, you really get the hang of things. You'll see in an upcoming step, I changed my process a little bit. So the first few times takes the longest, but once you get a groove, this wreath does go fairly quickly. Here I have switched to a paintbrush, and you see I'm folding my paper a little different, but just getting that point on the end, really scrunching those pages up, because this will create some nice texture to our wreath. And using the paintbrush, it just helped it not poke out of the pointy side of our paper so easily. So now we're moving on to the inside of our wreath. I'm going to take a stack of those half pages and I'm going to cut them in half again. So now we have quarter pages. And I'm going to fold in on the long side, wrapping it around my paintbrush like we've been doing, adding glue, and then I'm going to stick it on the inner side to our wreath. I did find that my paintbrush came out a little easier if I gave it a little twist as I was pulling it out of the paper. I'm just going to let y'all watch this and see how pretty quickly it goes. Once we got our inner ring done, now we're going to add 2 rows in between our outer ring and our inner ring. So I'm going to be using a different size paper here. So we have half pages, we have quarter pages, and then I just kind of made this size up. I wanted it a little bit bigger than the quarter, but not quite a half. So you kind of seen that size there. And I'm going to fold these kind of in a diagonal. I don't really know why I did that, but it came out great in the end. And we're going to kind of alternate as we're doing this middle row, and whenever I get it adjusted in there, I kind of pull out those pages a little bit just to fluff that paper. Here we are adding our last few music papers, and then once I finished the inner ring, I did go back to just try to find any bald or naked spots and added a few book pages and really fluffed out those paper ends. Now, y'all might not think this frame is gorgeous, but I love it. I paid $12 for this very, very old wooden frame. It is falling apart. We're not going to be fixing the details that have popped off over time. I just think that is great character. I'm just going to put some glue in these miter edges, get them clamped up, and let that glue dry. I let that glue dry overnight, and now I'm going to measure the back side area of my frame so we can cut out a piece of 1/4 inch plywood. I think it's like 19 3/8 and 16 inches. Went to my miter saw and cut that plywood down, and then we're going to give that plywood a good coat. I did 2 coats of fusion paint, and this is the color Raw Silk. This is kind of the same process as we did in last week's video, and instead of adding that stamp, we're going to add a different stamp in a few steps. I want to get this back attached. I'm going to use this awesome framing gun I got off of Amazon. It is linked in my Amazon store down below, as well as several other of my must-have crafting supplies. This was a very good tool for me to invest in. I have used it countless times already. We're going to add some hanging hardware to the back. These are just little D-rings that come with the screws, and we will get those screwed in on the edges. And they come with these little collar ties. I don't know the exact name for them, but you just slip them over the wire and feed the wire through the little D-ring and then back through the collar. Once you get that wire back through the collar, you just slide it up pretty tight, and then you just clamp it with a pair of snips and pull on it just to make sure it is holding good. Then we will get the other side attached and clamp down as well. I want to take this time to thank y'all for spending your time with me today. I hope y'all are enjoying these projects so far, and if you are, please hit that like button and consider subscribing if you have not already. We have passed the 6,000 subscriber mark. Thank y'all so very much. I felt like our backer board was a little too new for this very old frame, so I decided to add the Vintage Texture stamp by IOD with the permanent black ink. Once I got that stamped, I went over it with the baby wipe, just like last week's video, just to tone that black ink down, and then I dried it off. Now, let's add our gorgeous wreath. I'm just going to use hot glue because I'm probably keeping this project for myself, and I know I'm never going to want to take it off this frame. So I added loads of hot glue to the back of our wreath, center that frame, and then press down firmly. Now, this is optional, but I wanted to bring the edge of those pages out a little bit, so I just grabbed a little bit of agent wax on a wax brush and just dusted the edges of our paper wreath. And here it is. I love, love, love it. Y'all let me know what y'all think. If I was to sell it, I'd probably price it for about $150. Y'all let me know what you think about this project. Our third project, we're starting off with this wood blank. I picked this up on a yard sale for like 50 cents, and it had vinyl lettering on it that I heat gunned off, and now we got to get rid of that sticky residue. So I'm just using a little bit of sandpaper just to smooth that out, and then we will get away all that sand and dust. We're going to be painting this with DIY clay paint. This is vintage linen, and I just did one coat on this. It was a pretty thick coat. I went in with a regular paintbrush initially and did a full coat, and then after we got that coated, I came back in with a chip brush just to get rid of the brush strokes that I was not liking. I just did a stipple right over top of that wet paint. That kind of hid any of the imperfections underneath from that vinyl lettering and just gave our board a little bit of texture. Now we're going to be stamping on this with the Winter Forest stamp. I love this stamp set and have not used it enough. So I knew I wanted to use it on this project, and I really want y'all's advice because this project stumped me. It needs something else. Y'all will see at the end, and I want y'all to let me know what you would add to this project. But for right now, we're just going to get these trees stamped on our project. I'm using black IOD permanent ink and just stamping our little trees up and rubbing that stamp all over with one hand and pressing down with the other hand. This will just keep your stamp from shifting and sliding around on you. Make sure to have a baby wipe handy whenever you are stamping. It just helps when you have any ink in places it does not need to be. Once we had our trees stamped on, I'm just going to zap this dry and heat set that ink with my heat gun. Because now we're going to come in with a few different green paints and we're going to paint over our stamp. I have seen many creators do this technique and I have not tried it myself. So here I'm using Carriage House by Fusion. This is my favorite green color, but I did want to add a few different greens just for some variation in our little winter forest here. I'm not going for full coverage whenever I'm painting the inside of my stamp. I just want it to have a hint of green, and we are going to stamp over this. I did dry that with my heat gun, and now I'm going to re-ink the stamp that we used at first, and I'm going to carefully line that up and then press down and lift straight up. This will leave some gorgeous details of the stamp on top of our painted design. Next, I'm going to come in with a more lighter green and I'm going to paint a few more trees this color and do the same process. I'll dry with my heat gun and then I will re-stamp over the painted area. The third color I'm going to use is a Dixie Belle color. This is Hampton Olive. This used to be my favorite green color. And I'm going to paint a few trees this gorgeous green as well. Then dry with my heat gun, and then we will re-stamp those painted areas. Y'all, please let me know what you would add to this project. I didn't do anything else because I didn't want to force it. My mom said add some snow to the trees, and I want to cut out a word on my new laser, but y'all let me know what y'all would do. Thank y'all so much for spending your time with me today. If you got any inspiration from this video, please hit that subscribe button. Talk to y'all in the comments. Bye.